Hello, my name's Gavin. This is Genre Books, and this is the 18th of my bookshelf exploration excavations. Determining what I have here, trying to get it into some semblance of order. The good news, or the bad news, depending on how you look at it, is that I'm now into the Read What You Own challenge. So at least I'm adding nothing more to these shelves for the time being. Hopefully, as I get through 100 titles, enough of them will be physical books that I can move off these shelves and at least free up a little bit of space. And I may find something in this shelf which would be a good candidate for the next 100 books to read. I don't think I'll go far wrong with Alasdair Gray. The only Alasdair Gray I've read so far has been Alanek, A Life in 4 Stories, and that was some time back. But this Unlikely Stories mostly is a collection of his shorter fiction, and like Lanek is full of fantastic artwork by the author himself, almost like some modern illuminated manuscript. And this is not the last Alasdair Gray for this video. I did not read Snow Falling on Cedars by David Guterson the first time round in the early 1990s, where everybody seemed to have a copy of this book. I was late to the party then. I did see a copy for £1, and which is where I picked this one up. So at some point I will visit this and see what the fuss was all about. Another name I see bandied about, another author I see on a lot of bookshelves, but this time, much more recently, is John Gwynne. And again, I found this very cheap at a charity shop. Malice, his first novel. When I'm in the mood for a big old fat fantasy, I may well have to reach for this one. The story now of a bunch of chancellors who somehow made good. Niall Ferguson, Empire story of the British Empire. I need to improve the ratio of Ian Forster that I've read. I've read The Longest Journey, Passage to India, and I'm sure something else. But I've not read Where Angels Fear to Tread, and this might be a good candidate for Read What You Own. It scratches the itch of an author I want to read more of. It is Edwardian, just 1905, so it fits into a couple of videos I'm looking to make shortly, and it's also brief enough that it offsets some of the more chunky books I've got planned for the next 100 books. And something which probably won't be on the next 100 books because of its length is The Pillars of the Earth by Ken Follett. But that would be the only reason I'm not picking it, because this is the story of the building of a cathedral. So this is not specifically about war and fighting, but as it's set in 12th century England, I'm expecting that there at least will be some strife, battles, probably famine, disease and nastiness as well. Like Forster, another novelist I've not read enough of, but what I've read has been very good indeed. John Fowles, Daniel Martin. Now I've read Mantissa, the French lieutenant's woman. I'm sure something else as well, but never got round to this one. One of those books I bought at a railway station, fully intending to read it, and then realising later that it's too heavy to be taking around with me as I plough through it. Maybe something for when I have some time at home to read at leisure. This is The Silk Roads, A New History of the World by Peter Frankopan. from Penguin Classics, Chronicles of Froissart, and yes, a history of the 100 Years' War, or part of the 100 Years' War, and the world of that time. A fantasy book now that was bought for me. This is The Final Strife by Saara El Arifi. This must be the second or perhaps third version of this book I have owned. One of those which I actually have reread but haven't for some time, and due for another reread because it's just so brilliant. The Name of the Rose by Umberto Eco. And I could say the same about this next book, other than I've not reread it, but this is also fantastic. Foucault's Pendulum. I also remember reading this, I think when it first came out, I got it from the library, so that was 28 years ago. So the memory is a little fuzzier on this one, but I do remember it being very good, and I must have thought so to buy the paperback. And some Umberto Eco I have not read, maybe something also I can get read in the Read What You Own challenge. Serendipities. This does have a section, I think, about Prester John, which is what attracts me to it currently. So, yes, I think perhaps I'll be boosting this up the TBR. A couple of non-fiction picks now, starting with The History of Magic by Chris Godsen. I had such good intentions when I bought this book, but I've just never got round to reading it. Team of Rivals by Doris, Kearns, Goodwin. I did promise more Alasdair Gray, and here we are. Poor things. I want to read this before I watch the film. It is annoying to want to have to bump so much up my TBR, and annoying to want to do so much stuff with so little time. Peter F. Hamilton time and The Abyss Beyond Dreams. This is, I suppose, a novella by his standards, only 684 pages long. So I do like Peter F. Hamilton, and I suppose reading one of his books will free up more space on my bookshelf than most. So, one to think about. Light by M. John Harrison. And The Go-Between by L. P. Hartley. One that used to end up on quite a few school reading lists, and this, I think, is an old school copy. Terry Pratchett time for the first time in this video, and this is Raising Steam. Mushroom Press goodness from 1953 from Curtis Warren, the publisher. This is Berl Cameron with Lost Aeons. I've shown this before on the channel at least a couple of times, but always happy to show it again. This is possibly one of my favourite short story collections ever. Fictions by Jorge Luis Borges. I read The Rats by James Herbert as part of Garb August. Here's the sequel to The Rats, Lair. More history, this time The Enlightenment by Norman Hampson. A book which is on my TBR for a definite read for next year is Lost Horizon by James Hilton. I have this and a book about this book to read. Russell Hoban, Kleinzeit. In Penguin Classics, some Hawthorne that I have not read. This is Selected Tales and Sketches. Yaroslav Hasich and the Good Soldier Svek. More history, Europe in the 14th and the 15th centuries by Dennis Hay. And some more Russell Hoban, one I've read, one I haven't. The one I've read is the Lion of Boaz Hakim and the Hakim Boaz. And the one I have not read is The Medusa Frequency. a very famous fantasy author that I have not read, and that's Robin Hobb. And I saw this for £1 in almost fine condition, so I thought I'd get it, have a dip in. This is some short stories, see what all the fuss is about. Now for the rest of this excavation, I've gone over some of these books recently in book haul videos, so will not dwell on them too much. The King of the World's Edge by H. Warner Munn. Wizard of Lemuria, or The Wizard of Lemuria, and Thongor of Lemuria from Lynn Carter, and Late Final from Lewis Gibbs. A Tale of Two Clocks from James H. Schmitz. The Explorers from C.M. Kornbluth. Pirates of Venus by Edgar Rice Burroughs, and Project Jupiter from Frederick Brown. From Gallant's Fantasy Masterworks, Robert Holdstock Mythico Wood. This is the 30th anniversary edition. Bit of espionage now, and Len Dayton, SSGB. And more Pratchett, this time Snuff and Making Money. A couple of fairly recent releases I was lucky enough to get at a car boot sale. Barbara Kingsolver, Demon Copperhead, and Killers of the Flower Moon by David Gran. The Sadian Women by Angela Carter. The Revolution of St. Joan by Lorna Mitchell. A book I'm sure there was a group read planned for. I'll have to see if I can find out something about that. And that is East of Eden by John Steinbeck. More James Herbert, this time Haunted. And more horror, this time Promethean Horrors, Classic Tales of Mad Science, a collection from the British Library. And this has stories from E.T.A. Hoffman, Mary Shelley, Nathaniel Hawthorne, Poe, Robert Louis Stevenson, L.T. Mead, E. Nesbitt, H.P. Lovecraft, and George Langland. The Passage from Justin Cronin. A Merit with Burn Witch Burn. And finally for today, a book I did pick up again at a car boot sale, and which I have been told by Gareth at Book Songs and Other Magic is actually a bit of a rarity. This is William F. Nolan's Logan's World, sequel to Logan's Run. And that was Shelf Cubicle number 18. Until next time.